Ow. Oh, why would you?
Just to make sure it...
I got a funny feeling. I got a funny feeling. Yeah.
Hello, people. I'm Jaby KOAY, joined by KIRK.
Yo.
We're looking at how Fahadh FAASIL acts with his eyes. Video essay from Film Companion South. So if you guys haven't already, please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell icon, all notifications, and yeah, hang out with us more, please, thanks. Also, if you like the video that we're watching, then make sure to subscribe to Film Companion South. They have 347,000 subscribers. Help them get to 400,000 subscribers.
Yay.
You can do it today. Is there subtitles? Because that's auto-generated.
I think it's in English. We'll see.
Had Fahadh FAASIL been an actor 200 years ago, he would have been a bad one. He's not an actor of words, and the stage remains unforgiving to those like him.
In theater, the idea is to project to the person in the back of the room.
Oh.
Whereas film acting is more concentrated, it's like more subtle, it can be smaller, and because the camera will get all that information that's going on in your eyes a lot more easily than someone in a theater.
For some reason, I thought he was talking about silent films, and I was like, well, he would be perfect for silent films because he doesn't need to talk.
200 years ago.
Yeah, no.
But what the stage despises, the camera adores. Because Fahadh was born for close-ups. There are not many things he can say that his eyes cannot. You can give him sheets of dialogue, but chances are he will figure out a way to say it without saying anything at all. He's one of a few actors whose eyes have a separate fan base. His oddly long eyelashes make you sympathize with him even when he plays a character that deserves to be bobbitized. Their color, hazel to some, light brown to others, makes it impossible for us to look away, especially when they're lit from the sides. Had his eyes been a shade darker, it may not have had the power to convey as much. And
That's
had they been lighter, they may have become a distraction, but the difference is what he does with them. Let's take a look at a few visuals to understand how he uses his eyes to convey meaning.
I don't agree with that statement. Personally,
About his eyes?
about the shade of his eyes having. I mean, maybe it has some impact on people like noticing him, but I think that his acting just stands apart from that. If you gave him contacts with darker shade, darker color, or lighter color, whatever the case may be, I think the lighter color would be distracting. But darker color, I think his acting would still come through strong.
Well, no, I agree with you, but also there's no denying that eye color does affect how noticeable your eyes are. And the fact that
I notice your eyes and they're,
the color of poop.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
They're dark brown. Some awful boy said that to me once in school. He was like, I hate brown eyes, they're the color of poop. And I was like, sad. Anywho.
Chocolate's brown.
Chocolate's amazing.
There you go.
All right. I do think that he's making an interesting point there about the eye color. Just that subtle shift in the lightness of his eyes is enough to kind of, when it's lit a certain way, to make them pop a little bit more. But I think also he has an interesting eye shape as well.
Yeah, I think
They're
that
really
more
big.
than the color itself. But anyway.
When Cyril from 22 Female Courtium wakes up in the afternoon after being heavily sedated, his eyelids remain half closed. He's weak, but there's a sense of comfort and contentment even when he looks at Tessa, an old friend. But the moment she reveals that she had drugged him, his eyes begin to dart around rapidly. His eyelids are now wide open in shock, and he keeps it that way even when she reveals to him that she has removed his male organs.
What?
In his pain and intense anger, he stares directly into Tessa's eyes, his eyes tense. A wide range of emotions is communicated. Relaxation, trust, shock, helplessness, pain, and finally anger.
Removed his what?
She removed his junk.
Is that what he said?
His male organs.
Oh, I heard male organs, and I was like, I don't know what a male organ is. Male organs, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I mean, wouldn't you? If you woke up from a nap and then you're suddenly like, oh God, where is my happiness gone?
You just, freed me from the distractions for the rest of my life. I'll go become a monk now, thank you.
Without a
Just
word
kidding.
being spoken.
I'm just joking.
Later, Cyril gets a few dialogues, but his mouth is soon taped. But when Tessa starts narrating her side of the story, the anger does not remain. She narrates how she truly loved him, and Cyril's eyes, now looking away from both the camera and Tessa, suggest an inability to confront his thoughts, even as we cut away to shots of their past. He tears up, almost accepting his faults and his fate. He starts taking the medication she gives him, and there's a moment of comic relief between them. She says, "It's impossible to understand what you're thinking when I look at your face." As she leaves him tied to the bed, his eyelids remain half closed, again as he looks down. Is it regret or is he planning revenge? Who really knows? The first time Rasool speaks to Anna in Rajiv Ravi's tragic love story Annayum Rasoolum is more than an hour into the film. Take a look at this love at first sight moment. A fight has broken out and Rasool is being chased. He starts running and he hides near a statue of Mother Mary when Anna approaches it to light candles. The loud music of the church band slowly recedes to silence and Rasool stares into her eyes in disbelief. He cannot blink, his eyes refuse to move. There's no back and forth and it's as though he's staring at one particular eye. He soon forgets where he is, not realizing that people are still chasing him. He rises slowly, looks at her, takes a step back when he hits the wall behind him. He smiles with his eyes and he knows he's in love. Can you think of a better love at first sight scene?
It's pretty good.
He begins to pursue Anna, traveling on the ferry between Vaipin and Ernakulam, just to see her. He smiles when he sees her run into the same boat and chooses to stand, perhaps because that's the best vantage point. His eyelids remain half open as he looks pleasingly at her. She catches him staring at her and shoots back a look of anger. But he doesn't look away because he doesn't feel he's done anything wrong. He even shifts his head towards her direction, bringing his eyes to the center. She looks away, moves closer to her friend and says, "Avan." He breaks the eye contact only when the friend looks back at him. He looks away into the darkness, a smile emerging. "At least she knows I exist," you can almost hear them say. She tries to steal glances without turning her head to see if he's still staring. He still is.
Cause it's freaky.
The beautiful Kandir Under Kandir plays in the background when he sees her again at her workplace. She's modeling a wedding gown for her customers as he walks in. She spots him and she signals for the veil to be removed. It's part embarrassment, it's part irritation, but her look has softened from before. She's probably glad he got to see her looking like a bride. It's almost ironic given their fate. I'm not a huge fan of the film, but Fahadh plays a blind man very differently in Shyama Prasad's Artist. He's not born visually impaired and he loses his eyesight well into adult life. So there's a need to still move around the eyeballs towards the direction of a sound or speech out of habit. During intense discussions between Michael and Gayatri, he doesn't look up or away like other actors. He chooses to look straight at her, but instead of her eyes, he's actually glaring at a spot just below them. It has a chilling effect because he thinks he's making eye contact even when he's not. He also has a look of focus on scenes where he's working on his paintings. His eyes widen, his pupils move around as though he's seeing the painting in his mind. We too become a part of his visualization as we try to see what he's seeing. If his eyes were so far reserved only to do some heavy lifting, here's the man having some fun in Satyanandikat's or Indian Pranayakatha. He plays a mischievous character in this film, and when he boasts about his self-control to his boss Irene, she decides to put it to test. Notice how his eyes start moving around in the same direction Irene moves her arms in. His eyelids remain half closed, but when Irene's body touches his, the eyelids spring open in tiny bursts even as he tries to remain cool. The moment when he stares right up as though he's asking God for help is gold. In Bangalore Days, Fahadh's look and body language convey his character's overall attitude towards his wife and her cousins. When she's playfully clicking pictures with her cousins on stage, he refuses to smile at them, ruining the moment. Her smile disappears immediately and she tries hard to make eye contact with him. But he refuses to meet her eye, choosing instead to look towards the camera and then away from it. He disapproves of her cousins and it's blatantly obvious. Much later, when the cousins come home for lunch, they begin by having a good time. But when Aju lifts his leg and rests on his chair, Das gives her a side glance. And when Aju jokingly throws something at Divya, Das's eyes follow the trajectory of what he's thrown. He's had enough. Irritated, he switches to the morose topic of Arjun and his broken home.
So Arjun's parents are there.
In Amal Neerat's Eobinde Pustakam, Fahadh's Aloshi is a stand-up guy. But his head is always tilted below in scenes where he's speaking to his father Eob. Even on their first meeting after decades, Alushi refuses to look his father in the eye. It's a natural way to show respect and subservience. But as he begins to walk away, he looks back at Eob for a fraction of a second. Though toughened, he still holds on to some love for his father. The same pattern is repeated in 2 more instances in the film, but the meaning is very different. Aloshi continues to look down as his father speaks to him. But when he disagrees with his father, he doesn't hold back anymore. He shoots back a look straight at him. In all 3 occasions, Aloshi's direct gaze at his father is used as a mini punch moment. If it is respect the first time, the look is that of disgust later on. He has no respect left for his father anymore.
That was the first instance where this actually was meaningful to me. In all of it, because I feel like most of this is subconscious and not really considered.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking about as well as I was watching this. I was like, I don't know, man. I think that's just acting. Like when you act with your entire being.
Yeah.
You use your body, you use your eyes, you use your face,
Your tone,
everything. It's all. So yeah, I don't know if it's something conscious or unconscious, but he's definitely like a really good actor.
No, I mean, that's undeniable.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason that I wanted to watch this. But that one moment where it was selective of when to look at his father, I feel like that was the first instance where it was like a really conscious effort to go, okay, this is what I'm allowed to use my eyes this way versus this way. That was the only time. Like everything else, it just seemed like that's just naturally what you might do if you're in that moment behaving according to what how the character would respond.
Well, yeah, because I don't think that you would very deliberately go, I'm going to look to the left now, I'm going to look to the right. Although there is an interesting acting tip that one of my friends told me. She learned this at her drama school, but I never learned it, which is apparently when someone tells a lie, they look to the left. But when someone is recalling a memory, they look to the right.
I would have to test that theory.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to do the opposite just to fight against it. So.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I'll always look to the right. Okay, here we go.
Lying left, lie left.
Maheshinde Pradikaram is a film that needs an eye actor like Fahadh. He strains his eyebrows and blinks incessantly in that scene where he goes to bed next to his father a day after he went missing. There's tension, there's worry, and his eyes are wide open to suggest that it's going to be a sleepless night. Later, when his longtime lover Soumya calls him to break up with him, the blinks work very differently. It's like he wants to blink, but he refuses to. He lifts his head a bit above his eyes, first to the left and then to the right, and hangs up. That's the end of that. But the breakup only hits us on the day of her wedding. We get an over-the-shoulder shot from Soumya's side looking down at Mahesh on his bike. She smiles awkwardly and we cut to a closer shot of Mahesh, and he too is smiling. When we cut to him a third time, the wide shot from before has now become a mid shot. He smiles as though he's genuinely happy for her, again with those half blinks. As she walks away, his eyes continue looking as though they're in search of her. He lowers his head, moves it to the side away from the camera and stares down at nothingness, hoping to find some kind of closure. We then cut to a shot of his back and then a side shot of the man bawling, his eyes closed shut. In Tondi Modalum Driksakshim,
Did you get the whole thing about the wanting to blink business?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking that whoever did this, like, he's done a lot of, analyzing, but that half blinking stuff, I'm almost inclined to say that's just him. I don't think he's going, and now I'm gonna do little flutters and big flutters.
Yeah.
And it's just acting, it's emotion. Your eyes are gonna do stuff.
Yeah.
Fahadh's eyes get what we call a mass hero entry. With Morricone whistling as the background score, we first get a shot of his eyes framed through the gap of his two arms.
That's a cool shot.
At first, the eyes stare aimlessly to the front, looking at nothing in particular.
And some of this is
He
director
keeps them there until
Yeah.
he dramatically pulls them to the right of the screen, just in time for the guitars to kick in. His pupils widen and he squints slightly to focus on his target, the gold chain. He fixes his cutter onto her chain, but he pauses, this time to recheck if someone's watching. He tracks his eyes back to the chain to complete what's possibly the best recent use of the extreme close-up. Also, how would you describe this look? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Or is it embarrassment? He's just been caught red-handed with an X-ray of the chain he has just swallowed. If you type shady on Google search and hit images, you'd probably find this expression. When
I don't think there's any shame there.
What? In that look?
That look? It was kind of like a, I don't know how to describe it, but to me that look was more like, and what?
Right.
There was. I caught me.
I agree.
And,
I agree with the writer there that there's certainly a lot going on in that expression. I thought it was actually pretty good.
It's really layered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would Layered's actually a great word for that. I thought that there was a lot going on there for sure. Oh, the one where he's laying in bed next to his father. That's the one where it's like he's using his eyes to say he's going to be up all night. It's like, well,
if your eyes aren't closing, you're definitely going to be awake.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. It's that's in the writing, that's in the directing, saying, okay, well, don't go to sleep. You're going to...
Yeah. No, but what I liked in that scene was, I don't know if you saw it, but it looked like his hand reached over to hold his dad's hand. And I was like, that was really sweet.
Yeah, I caught that.
That's even sweeter than him not being able to sleep.
Right.
We get a mirror shot, that too, a close-up. He looks pleasingly at himself as though he's looking at a thing of immense beauty. He moves his head around, but his eyes remain glued to it. He can't take his eyes off himself. When he finds a potter on the mirror, he quickly scrapes it off using his blade and washes it down. He looks back up and continues to admire his own beauty.
Looks like Freddie Mercury there.
Yeah.
The complete man.
It's the same even when his wife tries to speak to him. She asks if he'll come home early, but he refuses to look at her while replying. He's distracted and chooses instead to look at himself on the bike's mirror. And when he finally looks at her, it's as though he's doing her a favor, something she must be grateful for. Why is this shot so freaky? Is it because of the way he smiles even when things are starting to really get awkward? He wants in on what the two sisters are speaking about, but he can't take no for an answer. But there's another reason why things get so tense. The scene is longer than a minute and Shammi does not blink, not even once. Later, when he sits his sister-in-law down to advise her, his eyes remain closed, especially when he's talking about her boyfriend Bobby. She wants to get married to Bobby, but the topic is closed, just like his eyes. Not only does this reflect his unwillingness to listen to her, but it's also his inability to see from another person's perspective.
Oh, that's
He can
an
also
interesting
pull
insight.
off his version of the crazy eyes.
Yeah. He was super duper freaky in that movie.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
Really, really good.
It was quite memorable.
Yes, so like he really stood out in that film, which was just a great film overall. But yeah, his performance was just...
I mean, that's how we discovered him.
Yeah,
So-
that was our first time like properly watching him, and like he was amazing.
While I didn't feel compelled to follow the same like logic
Yeah.
that the writer was, basically explaining here, I still enjoyed going through his film work and seeing the different things he's done, the different kinds of characters he's played, and his performance, like little fractions of those performances. Obviously, it's just a sliver of the
Yeah.
film. Like, but it's still cool to see little snippets of his performances from these different films. Just see him be those people. It really illustrates to you just how good he is. You know?
Yeah, he's so versatile. And I wonder as well, like, maybe one of the reasons why his eyes are so compelling is a lot to do with just that he has really interesting looking eyes to look at. Like the writer was saying, you know, how he always has this like half closed look he uses often, but it's like he's got pretty big eyes, and he's got, I don't know if they're deep set or if they're just kind of what you would call here like maybe sleepy looking, or like bedroom eyes or something like that, where when you do the half lidded thing, they're still big enough that you can still catch a lot of eye.
Sure, yeah.
Whereas if you have smaller eyes and you do that, it's like, dude, why are you squinting?
Sure.
You know?
That's fair. Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
He's just got really compelling eyes. Like when you look at them closely, they're also kind of they're not symmetrical. They're asymmetrical.
Gotcha.
But it just makes them more interesting because you're like, whoa,
Right.
that's cool.
Yeah, overall, I like this. I liked going through his film history, like I said a moment ago, and I look forward to watching more of his films. You guys comment below with your favorite film from Fahadh FAASIL. Would love to know, aside from Kumbalangi Nights, I would love to know which one you guys think is his most standout performance. Subscribe if you haven't already, hit that bell icon on notifications, and also subscribe to Film Companion South if you'd like to see more content from them. I'm Jaby KOAY, this is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.